Welcome to Association Chat. This is your online discussion where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm the host of Association Chat, Kiki L'Italienne, and before we get started, what I wanted to do today is give a quick thanks to one of our sponsors, the Community Roundtable. Now, you may have heard of the Community Roundtable before. They have been in the business of educating people and researching community for a long time, actually, about the same amount of time the Association Chat has been around. I've been hosting conversations and growing the community here at Association Chat for 12 years. I used to oversee chapters and local section growth for an association in the years before that. So I really care about bringing people together. And the Community Roundtable provides this research and education that I really believe in. So coming from me, I hope that that means something. It's not something that they ask me to say. It's something I know to be true. Right now, they have a Community Management 101 for Associations course. This is for successful community management. You can receive CAE credit for it, and Association Chat fans can use the code AC2021 asterisk to get 10% off through the end of the year. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the URL at the bottom, and you can check out the Community Roundtables, Community Management 101 for Associations, CAE approved. Really phenomenal, very advanced course. Even though it's foundational, there's something for even the most experienced community managers. And go ahead and check out that URL. I'm very thankful to them for supporting Association Chat and for the work that they have done for such a long period of time. All right, so now back to the show. Today, we're talking about mergers and acquisitions, and this is mergers and acquisitions specifically in the association industry, and why talking about it and knowing about it is actually a good thing for us to do. It's a very topical topic. I mean, it's very, very good, timely that we're talking about today, because today I'm interviewing Kevin Bruffey. He's the president of Protech, and Pat McGlynn, the general manager of Togetherwork's Association Business Unit, to talk about the recent acquisition of Protech by Togetherwork. And this was, I think, just officially announced this morning. We're going to talk about what all of it means, what it could mean for innovation of tech solutions, what it could mean for current customers, and what it could mean for the association industry as a whole. And so I am adding Kevin and I am adding Pat. And Pat, unfortunately, we're having issues with the camera part of it, but we have his audio. So welcome, Kevin. Welcome, Pat.
Glad to be here.
Thanks, Kiki.
All right. It's so good to see you. And everyone, what I told Pat we could do is we could just imagine what his facial expressions are doing right now. For those of you who listen through audio, it doesn't matter, does it? You're going to be listening to this. It doesn't matter he doesn't have his video. What I wanted to do is kick this off by actually talking about this topic of, does it really matter? You know, when I was trying to sort of check and see who was in the know in the Association Chat private community on Facebook, you know, I said, does anyone know, has anyone heard about the latest acquisition? And someone said, yeah, does it really matter? Does it actually really matter? And we kind of had this back and forth dialogue. So for the people out there who say, does it really matter who owns a tech company, or, you know, does it really have any kind of impact? Pat, what do you have to say about that?
I think it does matter. I think it depends on your perspective, right? But from my perspective, a couple of things matter to our customers and to Protech's customers. One is the economies of scale that this can bring to an organization. Just levels of investment and economies of scale can really benefit the product. It can benefit the end customer. Second, I think it matters because of the expertise. So one of the things that Togetherwork prides itself in, and I've been experiencing this myself because we were acquired by Fontiva was acquired by Togetherwork 9 months ago, is bringing levels of expertise to certain areas of the business, not the industry expertise, because they don't have association industry expertise. They allow us to run the business day to day. But it's other areas that they've been able to provide and can provide us with a lot of expertise that allows us to run the business better for our customers. And I think the other dimension is they should care about what type of company the acquirer is. And Togetherwork, we're a strategic acquirer, which means we focus on helping our businesses grow, helping them with the areas of the business that are outside the day-to-day, and applying our expertise and Togetherwork's expertise to those areas that would otherwise bog down a family business in those things that are challenges of running a fast-growing software company. Now Protech can focus more on customers, focus more on building great software, and not those other administrative or things that could bog you down in running a business.
I mean, I think that all of those reasons that you gave are quality reasons. I think that based on what I've seen in the association industry, certainly over time, we sort of watch when, as technology changes, how different companies are adapting or evolving, and the types of relationships that they're building. I wanted to actually ask Kevin, because your family has been in this business for so long. Do you have any thoughts on adding to what Pat said, or building off of that? Because I know a lot of people are probably saying, "Oh my gosh, tell us about Protech and the story." Because I mean, it's like, what has it been? 40 years?
Yeah, it's been close to 40. It's approaching that anyway. And I've been around for 31 of those years in Protech. So it's been a great family business, great journey. Our customers are incredible, our partners, industry consultants. It's been a long journey, but it's so rewarding. And we've been very blessed and fortunate to have this opportunity. I do think that, there's going to be huge benefits that Togetherwork is going to be able to bring to Protech into the association market. They're going to make us stronger. We're going to be a platform. We are a platform solution provider with Microsoft and Fontiva. Together, we're going to be able to really, share battle stories and go to war together, and really serve the industry in a way that it's never been served, and do it in a very complementary fashion. We've so far, everything's been really smooth in the transition, introductions and so forth. It's only been a week or so. So excited to do this.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people are excited too. I was going to ask Pat this question about culture. I think while, he's looking into the camera audio stuff that's going on, I'll ask you this question. Culture is something that is so important for so many different reasons. For sure, I know that in the association world, we kind of talk about culture as being paramount to really appreciating making things work. And so obviously when you're bringing different organizations on, Togetherworks incorporating Fontiva, Togetherworks incorporating now Protech, there's this question about culture. So Pat, I see that you're back. I was going to ask Kevin this question too, but either one of you can answer this. When we're talking about culture, how is this going to impact the culture at Protech? Will it impact the culture? And how does Togetherwork actually make this work when you're creating a family of different brands? That's a lot of questions in one.
Yeah. Well, I'll address the Togetherwork side and also sort of my perspective in having done this before with different companies. I agree culture is really important to a company, especially a family-owned company. And Funtiva really wasn't a family-owned company like Bruffey owned the Protech, but it was operated as such. I think at Togetherwork, we're pretty direct in the process of acquiring a company about culture. We spend time on the culture. I'll let Kevin speak for himself, but I think that's one of the reasons why they chose Togetherwork. And we work hard with the owners to understand it and to make sure that there's a match, right? Because if it's not a match in the acquisition process and in that due diligence, that's a red flag for us in terms of the acquisition. So obviously, we thought that this was a great match between Togetherwork and Protech, having gone through the process, or we wouldn't be here today. And I think that post acquisition, we're going to work just as hard to maintain the cultural aspects that are important to the Bruffey family and they're important to Protech, because that's what we said we'd do in the process, and we're going to live up to that. I think, look, culture is going to change. It can't not change. You add new people, you add a couple new strategies, or culture evolves, right? Culture is going to be made by the people that are part of the company. But as long as we're focused on honesty and listening and building trust and communication and serving our customers, it's going to change in a good way.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. When we first met Togetherwork, the leadership team, we really got a great sense of confidence from them, and what they do is bring companies together under one umbrella, and they're experts at doing that. And it's, the idea here is that it's very strategic, and that they're bringing the Protech, the Bruffey family culture, all that together in whole into Togetherwork. So we're going to be operating as Protech, just leveraging the resources of a larger company and bringing that to market.
So what is that? Oh, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. I just said we feel good about it.
Oh, that's wonderful. What does the transition look like? So if I'm a client or a customer of Protech, I know that Togetherwork, you're used to doing all of this stuff. On the Protech side, what's that going to feel like to the client or your customers?
Well, there's been a very strong emphasis on business as usual during this transition. We've actually adopted a theme at Protech of business as usual, so that not only our customers receive the same attention and so forth, but our employees, helping our customers, they're not going to be moved around, and we're all coming forward as whole. The leadership team at Protech is still going to be running the operations of the business, and then as we get further along, we'll start leveraging those resources and bringing programs and benefits that we haven't been able to do before to our customers.
So, along with there being probably a little bit of change, because it is going to be a little bit different, you're really looking at this as being something that is adding to the benefits and sort of expanding on what you've already built. I don't mean to put words into your mouth, but I'm just kind of paraphrasing for folks who might be coming in a little bit late.
Yeah, I think that's true. We're going to be, with any transition, I imagine there's going to be a little bit of friction that slows things down a little bit so you can speed up. And I think we'll experience that. I don't know what that looks like. We haven't done this before, but the direction we're going is operating in whole, and there's really no change. There has been zero change right now. I know in the months to come there'll be some change, but I just think that's going to be positive change. And as we start figuring out how we can take advantage of the folks, and we're going to keep our focus on our customers.
So I have sort of a awkward question. I don't know if it has to be an awkward question, but you know, in every family, you have people who, especially it seems lately, you have people who sometimes they are really close and sometimes they're not. There's this interesting thing that's happening here because Togetherwork also acquired Fontiva a while back. Now, Fontiva, Protech, you've got Salesforce with Fontiva, you've got Microsoft with Protech. Can we talk a little? Is it awkward for me to ask the question of what's it going to be like how traditional competitors in the same market coexist in the same family? Can we talk about that?
We can absolutely. It's not awkward. I
That's
think it's
great.
a smart, it's a fair question, obviously,
Mhm.
right? I think that the short answer is we're coming together as one association business unit, okay? Not two separate companies that are going to continue to compete in the market.
Mhm.
And that's important distinction. We're creating what we believe is the association platform company, right? And that's very important to understand is that Fontiva and Protech are, we believe, the best two platforms for the industry. One platform happens to be built on Microsoft. The other
Mhm.
happens to be built on Salesforce. But the common theme is we're not a proprietary product, and we're not a complete custom shop. We're a platform, and and that's really important to understand as to why we're coming together and how do we coexist. It's about process and clear expectation, clear rules of engagement, and communicating, right? Just like in a family, we got to communicate, and
Yeah.
and we're going to do that, and we know that's the top priority. And I would add, this might sound a little counterintuitive, but on several levels, it's how we interact in the market doesn't change. So Fontiva and Protech have a history of focusing on what's best for the customer, and what they really need. And today, so take the sales process, for example. Today,
Mhm.
the market is very astute. Associations know that, and we're seeing more often that they're making two decisions sort of when they come decide to move from one association management system to another. One, they're making the decision: am I going to do a proprietary product or a platform? Two, they're saying, okay, if it's a platform, is it Microsoft or Salesforce? Right? And then they're choosing. The third decision is, okay, which one?
Mhm.
And that's not changing today. Today, we find that there are situations that at Fontiva where the customers made a clear choice for Microsoft. So we don't end up being in a lot of the same deals as Protech because of that. The customer's already chosen that they want Microsoft, and that's great. In other cases, Protech on the other side, they've chosen that Salesforce is the platform for them, uh,
Mhm.
and and then we're not in competition. So it's just about continuing um, to keep the customer at the center of the decision. And if they've chosen the Microsoft platform, that's a great platform. And Protech has the best Microsoft platform in the industry for associations. Um, so we stand down, and the customer has chosen to go in a different direction, which is fine.
So I have had a couple of comments and questions come in. And Suzanne says, thank you, because in other such mergers and acquisitions, customer service has really plummeted. So, in addressing issues like that, I think it's natural for people who have maybe experienced something in with different platforms to get a little nervous, even if it's outside of the association space, but they've just seen where they might have been a customer of a service or a solution and it changed ownership, there is a little bit of concern, like, am I still going to be taken care of? So she brings up the customer service point. And then a little bit later, interoperability is a huge issue because everyone points their fingers at the other vendors. And what that made me think of is it made me think about a question that has to do with when there's this idea that when you have something where you're bringing together a number of different solutions, that you're basically putting together this master sandwich. I'm making an analogy here, but it's like, this great sandwich. It's going to be so much better because we have this and this and this. And sometimes that is true and sometimes it's not. So can you talk to me a little bit about, the benefits of having some of these different solutions under the same umbrella?
Yeah, I think from an interoperability standpoint, that's an acquisition strategy where you're trying to get everybody on one platform, if I'm understanding that issue. And that's not our strategy. So we're not sunsetting.
You don't have to worry about that.
Right? No, don't have to worry about interoperability, right? It's we're not buying 3 or 4 or 5 different companies or just one company and trying to get it all on one platform. And then you've got interoperability issues. Protech is the brand remains, Fontiva brand remains. We continue to invest R&D into both the Microsoft platform built by Protech and the Salesforce platform built by Fontiva, and we continue to coexist in the market. And some organizations are going to choose Protech, and some organizations are going to choose Fontiva. Where they can benefit by these two coming together is, the Bruffey family and Protech has, as you mentioned at the top of the show, 40 years of 40 years of association industry experience, and sharing that with the folks on Fontiva and vice versa, and cross-pollinating the expertise and our experiences, and even people that will sit across both products for the association business unit. We can tap into their collective wisdom about each other and work together for the greater good of the customer.
Well, with that in mind, I actually want to talk about that tapping into the greater wisdom. I think that, one of the ways that we've done that traditionally in the association industry, whether you're an association or whether you're a company that works with associations, boy, we love our meetings. We love coming together. We love having our conferences, whether it's a user group meeting, what have you. We love coming together. So I want to find out, is there any sort of plan? COVID-19's really dampened a lot of plans on conferences and in-person events. Are there any plans for doing anything coming up that you can speak to right now? And anything that's going to involve maybe Fontiva and Protech together or something like that?
Well, I can assure everybody that Protech is excited to have our Fusion conference, which is our customer conference in May. It'll be at the Four Seasons in Baltimore, May 11th and 12th. And it's going to be an in-person as well as a virtual option. So it's kind of a hybrid event. I've been very excited to talk to a lot of customers, more than I thought, that are already having in-person meetings. And that's really fantastic to hear. So look forward to having that event. And I know FunCon is going to continue as well, and Pat can probably speak to that.
Yeah, absolutely. We just closed our second virtual FunCon. It was by all the feedback that we got, a great success for our customers and for our partners. And FunCon is going to continue. We're going to continue to get that users network together. They love to get together, just like the customers of Protech. I think there'll be other opportunities across Togetherwork and across Fontiva and Protech to think of new things, new ways to interact and to communicate and to get together that might cut across the platforms and cut across those groups and focus more just on the association industry rather than perhaps focused on one particular technology or the other. So I think it creates great opportunity. There are other companies within the Togetherwork family that we overlap with as well that have a lot to offer our communities and our customers. So I think you'll see some of that happen too, is not just Fontiva and Protech getting together in different ways, but other companies within the Togetherwork family maybe as well. No firm plans yet, if you're looking for that, but it's early. But lots of opportunities out there that could coalesce and come together.
Yeah, it is early. I feel like, here we are in the end of 2021. I have a colleague who he always says that, always likes to joke that 2020 never really ended. We're still trying to figure out what we're doing and what's going to happen next. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll cross my fingers that I'll be hearing about some of these events that are coming up in the future. One of the things about talking about mergers and acquisitions, one of the things that's sort of a mystery, and I don't know how much information you can give to me today about this, but it's this, what makes a good fit? What exactly is, an organization looking for when they're like Togetherwork, when you're thinking about bringing in a new member of the family? So are there other types of companies that you're on the lookout for, type of thing? Is there, what helps Togetherwork to figure out if there's a company that they want to bring in?
Yeah. There's plenty that I can share there. I think that it's a common few things at the highest level that we look for. First and foremost is the company, the potential acquisition, core to what we do? And core to Togetherwork is two things. It's group management software. Could be any group, rock climbers, faith-based group, or could be, in our case, obviously, the associations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is the software focused on the group and focused on, and is there a e-commerce or payments component to it? So that's first and foremost what we look. So assuming there's an e-commerce component and it's group management at the core, we're looking for growing companies. We don't require turnarounds. There are companies that do that really successfully, not Togetherwork. We're not looking for turnarounds. We're looking for a company that's in good position to grow. And what they really need is economies of scale and expertise, what we talked about earlier, to take it to the next level. Third, we look for a very happy customer base. We actually hire an outside firm that interviews the customers during the due diligence process to understand strengths, to understand areas of concern, and to understand how happy the customer base is. And we look for a culture match. We look for a culture fit. Is there a connection? Is there a good sense that this is the type of company that is akin to other companies in the portfolio from a culture standpoint? Is that a match? If I were to single out a few things, those would be the biggest things that we're looking for. And we saw all of those things with Protech, or we wouldn't be here today, and we're excited about it.
I love that answer. That I think is very helpful for folks who are following along and really interested in seeing how things develop in the association industry, and what different tech companies are doing. We all there are those of us who sort of speculate on the side. I have to say, when I asked the question in the association chat private Facebook group, does anyone know about the latest acquisition? And this was a couple of days ago, so I didn't say anything. I was just waiting for the official announcement to go out. And it was so interesting to see different people weigh in on what they thought was going to be happening. And so those of us who track that kind of stuff, it's fascinating stuff. So thank you for taking the time to answer my questions today. So I know that we're a little bit over our time, but I was hoping that you would indulge me a little bit. What I like to do at the end of every interview is I like to ask the question of the week that we post in our private Facebook group, the question of the week to all of our guests. So the question of the week this week, if you're willing to play, is what is one piece of advice that you give to someone starting out in your career? And so thinking about your career, you might think of it as what would I tell myself if I were starting out all over again? But what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone starting out in your career? And I don't know if Kevin, if you want to start, or Pat.
Sure. My advice would be to keep an open mind when joining a company. I think for me personally, I started in IT, moved into customer service, did this sales thing, and kind of still part of a sales motion in terms of our customer base. But I think I benefited a lot from those experiences to get a well-rounded view of the organization and how it impacts the people and the customers. And that's helped me as being a member of the executive leadership team. So keeping an open mind, be flexible, move around.
I love
there's
it.
nothing wrong with that.
Okay, keep an open mind, be flexible, move around. All right, Pat.
I think my advice would be invest in relationships. If you're starting out in your career, just know that the thing that's going to carry you forward, the next promotion or the next great opportunity or just success in your current role, hasn't changed since I started working so many years ago. It's relationships at the end of the day. And I know there's a lot in the market right now and that has changed from a workforce standpoint and a work world standpoint, even pre-pandemic. A lot of moving from one company to another, a lot of focus on other things besides developing long-term relationships. And that's only gotten, in my view, worse since the pandemic. But that would be my advice, because the way that I've succeeded in my career, I know personally, is by developing strong relationships, whether it be relationships in the company or with my manager, or relationships in an industry. If you're super passionate about an industry like associations, that's my number one piece of advice is choose to take the time to invest in those relationships.
I think excellent advice all the way around. I want to thank you both for talking with me today and talking with the association chat audience. Kevin, Pat, I'll be waiting for my invitation to some sort of fantastic Together Work, festival whenever you decide that you're going to do it. But I do want to thank you. And I also want to say a special thanks to Jake out there who's watching for helping to coordinate all of this. I really think that it was helpful for the audience today to hear what you had to say. And if anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out to each of you? And Kevin, I'll ask you first. It would be LinkedIn or something like that.
LinkedIn is appropriate. The website Protech, I'm pretty sure I'm published on there. As far as being able to connect to me via email, those are two great places to start.
All right. Excellent. Yeah, and Pat?
The same. I'd encourage anybody that wants to reach out on LinkedIn to connect with me. I'd love to hear from you. And likewise on our website and at Togetherwork website as well, you can find me, and don't hesitate to reach out.
All right. Well, thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Pat. What did you think about it? I think that this was a phenomenal chance to learn so much more about mergers and acquisitions in the association space. I know that a lot of people are, they get a little nervous when they're following things, the news about change that's happening, and they're wondering, what does it mean? And there are other people who are out there that are saying, why should I pay attention? Does it even matter at all? And hopefully today that helped to answer some of those questions that some of you have. Obviously, you heard them say, connect with them on LinkedIn if you have additional questions. In the show notes later, I will make sure to put some of their links to the websites that were mentioned for Togetherwork, for Protech. And as always, keep asking questions to learn every day, because as Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. I hope you have a fabulous rest of the week, everyone.